Hi, everyone. So before we start talking about the story of that NFT, I think it fits really nicely into my journey in the Near ecosystem and actually how I know this guy on the end, and my journey into Near. But I think before that, if we just introduce the panel, we'll start with David, and then we'll take from there, and then we can go into this wonderful story about how this guy and I met in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Adam. So my name is David. As you can probably tell, I'm from the Near Foundation. I do all things social media and community engagement. I've been in crypto for far too long. I'm actually 19 years old, but I look 45.
I didn't get the memo about the tracksuit, unfortunately. And you weren't giving them out last week at NearCon. I'm Jon. I'm the CMO of PlayEmber. My co-founder Hugo and I have been basically making mobile games and sort of mobile ad tech for a while. And about 6 months ago, we kept hearing about like the next billion, it's always a billion, whatever protocol, it's like the next billion that are going to join our protocol. And we were trying to figure out well, how that's going to happen because Web3 games suck. They're not even games. They're just gamified staking. We make actual games, mobile games. And we're like, okay, so what are we talking about here? We basically need a bridge to enable like non-crypto natives to be able to play the same game they love playing and without talking about collectibles or blockchain or tokens, basically become a Web3 player. So that's what we built. Huge support from the Near Foundation and their whole ecosystem that we'll talk about. And yeah, the games are now live, and we just closed our seed round. So just loving life in Web3.
So I'm Sheran, Chief Revenue Officer of Showcode. We are a Web2 platform that engages with people entering tech. We typically get them into FTSE 100, but over the last 6-7 months, I've been quite keen to ensure they get an opportunity to build in Web3. And then in the evenings, when my day job is done, I manage a Antisocial Labs. We are a dev house of 20 plus devs building on Near. We have ASAC, which is the largest NFT collection in Near ecosystem, Haven in the top 10, and we've built a lot of things within Near over the last 6-7 months.
Well, thank you very much. So, lucky enough to, if we go back to this profile picture, I've been in crypto for a while. And have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I started playing around in Near, actually due to Zebu and their activities in Near. So I work closely with Zebu since day one. And we'd been aware of Near. So we run a software development company, and we're always looking for where we're going to retrain our engineers to work. And Near was something that was buzzing around quite a lot. So like any experience I've had in Web3 is always about starting to play around, starting to meet the communities. And I think the thing that struck me, first of all, was how strong the communities were in Near. Whatever was happening in the market, especially around, when the market crashed, if you went into a Near or an average Near Discord server, everyone was still having fun. People were vibing. They weren't worried about the market. And actually, I started to realize that these were people that I'd known from Ethereum. These were people that I'd known from Solana. And I think in most communities that we spoke to, it wasn't their first rodeo. And actually, I had a wallet drain, and Sheran actually helped me identify the rogue smart contract that had come via there. So I was drawn in. So that leads me to my first question and to the panel. What brought you to Near in the first place? What made you get involved? What was the reason? And what have you done on it so far?
To be quite frank with you, Adam, it was a LinkedIn message. I was actually interviewing for Consensus at MetaMask, and I got the job, and I accepted it. And then Near phoned me up and said, hey, let's just do one more interview. And I thought, for fuck's sake, am I allowed to swear? Fucking yes. Brilliant. And I thought, hey, okay, one more. I'll give them a chance. And that final interview I had with the community, or the head of community there, I've never had an interview with somebody or team who was so passionate about the vision and the goal that they're trying to achieve. And that vision and goal aligned so well with my own that I knew it was the place for me, and I can honestly say that I found my home.
Yeah, I think for us, when we were looking at protocols, it's similar really. We want people that understood the vision, and we were like the contrarians, right? Because every Web3 game right now is a browser game, and we spoke to a couple of chains, and they just didn't get it. They're like, yeah, you're not a browser, your tokenomics don't look like this. And the first call with Near, they just got it instantly, right? They saw They really understood what we were doing. They were really backing mobile games to be the sort of next driver for Web3 gaming. And they actually just skipped straight to the actual product. And then it was like, well, how can we help you in terms of, and started going through the ecosystem. And yeah, completely agree. Like when we started meeting a few more people before we actually kind of committed to Near, just I guess the intrigue, right? Just everyone is just really curious, and was even before we even chose Near, just firing off introductions, and like Romy and your co-founder, like the Antisocial guys, yeah, just really, really welcoming. So I think for us it was just that collaborative nature, and I think the final point for us was just the perfect product fit. Like the Near wallet was built for Web2 normies, which is what which is our target audience. So it was just the perfect product fit.
So I minted my first NFT ever on Near. My partner in crime, Rom, which he's not here, no, he's somewhere in the venue, brought me in. So that's personally how I got into the ecosystem. My first thing was like, hey, well, how do I get this onto MetaMask? You don't need a MetaMask, okay? Well, what's my address? You can name your own address. Cool. And then we got to meet somebody named Mark Sudgen, or Nakamoto, if you ever get to meet him. I would say is the godfather of a lot of the ecosystem. Most of the people I know, most would not be here today without him taking a stab, taking a bet on us and giving us the opportunity to build. So yeah, that's what's brought me here.
I think Mark's a really good point from my point of view, is that when we were speaking to these very degenerate communities within Near, so I think at one point I was in about 80 Near Discords, and the vibe of those, if we're then going to bridge that to the sensible people that were asking questions about money, Mark knew how to speak to the animals as far as the degens and still make them understand what their business objectives were. And I think any call that we got on, he really took time to understand the project and was a great front man. And I think, as you say, a lot of reason that a lot of people came into the ecosystem was for how he managed things, and, a very well thought of person. It's interesting you say that, and I'm going to direct this directly to Sheran. So, I mean, as a developer and running a development company, what are some of the key reasons that you see to train engineers to work on Near, to build projects on Near? What are some of the benefits over some of the other chains?
So there's a lot of reasons, right? One is the development resources available to onboard devs is really good. Near developer course, the work Sharif's done and the education team has done, incredible. There's still always room for more, but I think that's been a solid foundation. There's been good incentives, and Rust is an interesting language to build on. But what's cool about Near, and I think what is the magic trick is the new JavaScript SDK. Now, can you build as powerful and robust smart contract applications with the JavaScript SDK? Not as well as you could with Rust, but JavaScript is a very easily understandable language. You've got over 20 million devs that know it. And so if you want your first taste in, that's your route in. And once you get into the logic and how to build on it, you can transition over. And then, with our devs, I think what people really recognize is that smart contract devs only make a very small portion of what you need to build a product. If you're a developer looking to enter Web3, you already have a skill set to join. You need front-end devs, you need back-end devs, you need DevOps. So, what we've done is we've found really talented people in Web2 that wanted to explore Web3, and we get them doing what they're best at. And in that time, we make sure they go through the Near developer course, they get educated, they learn, and we start to put them on these small tasks to get familiar with Rust. But they're using skills that they're really good with while also learning new skill sets. So I think that's one of the core reasons for devs, is that there's many entry points in.
Okay, and again, somebody who's building a killer app on Near, I mean, what were the advantages for you to get that? And I know you've mentioned some of those already.
Yeah, I'm not going to replicate that. I think for us, it was, it really came down to the wallet and the ease of integration for us. And then really what we did is just took the Near technology and built it into a Unity SDK. So kind of like the default game engine for most people building a mobile game. And then, the other consideration when we were looking at the other blockchains and it was really sort of scalability, and this is where I'd probably account for like 10% of any video Ilya's produced on dynamic sharding, trying to understand what he's talking about. I'm not the CTO, but I now understand what he's talking about. But I think it was that confidence. Just listening to him and talking to some of the senior Near team in just the absolute scalability of the network, right? It's there, right? So for someone like us, just to give you an idea, currently I saw his post this morning, I think currently about 20 million wallets. We're probably going to do between 2 to 3 million near wallets just in Q4 in our beta test, right? To give you a size of where we're going next year. Next year, I mean, Near put some pretty hefty goals, but next year our target is 15, 20 million near wallets just for us next year. So it was really important. We had a network that we had absolute confidence that could deliver that, and just sit down and tell us in plain English how they do it, versus just a lot of smoke and mirrors that we felt in some other presentations. And then the final part is just whatever engineering resource you need, that hunger, because no one's really done this before. So just that absolute hunger and willingness to sit down, and whatever dev resource you need, we're here. Let's brainstorm it. Let's test it. Let's hack it. Love it.
Brilliant. And anything to add from the foundation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if we put the usability to one side, which is incredible and should be reason enough to build on Near, we put the scalability to one side. And I would like to remind everyone that we just did the world's largest airdrop with Sweatcoin last week. There was 0 drop blocks. There was 0 drop transactions. The chain did not stall. The chain did not pause. Nobody had to switch a reset button. Not naming names. But one thing that we don't talk about enough is that every developer on Near who writes a smart contract, when somebody interacts with that smart contract and they pay a transaction fee, a gas fee, which is extremely small, it's sub-cent, but you get 30% of those transaction fees, they get routed to the writer of the smart contract. We don't shout about that enough, and it solves a really big problem. It solves the problem of open source, public goods, and how are we going to fund them, right? You don't need to charge anybody to use this incredible public good that you've built on the Near blockchain. They need to pay a sub-cent transaction, but when you've got it on scale, you've actually got a revenue source which can last infinitely.
Yeah, I know from the point of view of becoming a validator or joining validators is so simple, it's untrue. And I think having that mobile-first wallet, you're not relying on MetaMask. It's very simple, as you say, for your users to come on. And I think that's a key differentiator, to allow my wife, who is completely uncrypto savvy, to actually set up a Near wallet. And actually, without boasting, my 6-year-old daughter is purchasing NFTs on Near without a fault at all. It's a very low barrier to entry. There's not the fiddling around with MetaMask. I'm a big MetaMask fan, but it's very nice to have that web-focused wallet. And I think that's a really good point. I think I'm going to switch the questions around a little bit, because I think we're segueing very nicely into the next part. I mean, you mentioned there issues on other chains. What can Near learn from some of the pitfalls that other chains have gone through, other problems that they've faced?
Yeah, so when Near first started out, way back when, in 2017, when it was just a concept, and it was AI company before pivoting to blockchain, one of the things that the team did to deliver this completely usable blockchain that we have today is actually speak to gaming companies, because gaming companies know firsthand how few barriers there needs to be for somebody to get in and enjoy your game. If they have to sign up 20 times, they have to accept 50 terms of license agreements, and then they have to create a Konami account, even though you've already got a Steam account. People get turned away, right? So how do we make it as easy as possible? And that's not something that I don't think any other chain has thought of that, right? Because unless you have spent hours and hours and hours, like I'm sure many people in this room and many people watching have, learning how blockchain works, learning what a public key is, learning what a private key is, you need almost a computer science degree to understand it. And that's one of the learnings we've took, and we'll continue to keep learning from others' mistakes. And I'm sure we'll make mistakes ourselves as well.
So I think one of the things we were talking a lot with the Near team last week, so like Robbie, Jennifer, Mark, the kind of international gaming teams, is of course there's technical considerations, but what we were looking at is learning from the go-to-market strategy of the other chains when it comes to gaming. And I think for us in gaming, if you're a mobile game studio, you've got this established Web 2 publishing model where you've just got this entire team that can help you with everything, right? UI, UX, game design, creative, you name it. And I think when you look at what Ryan and the team at Polygon have done, that's essentially, from a non-technical perspective, they nailed the go-to-market. They have an entire team there that can help you make games, right, on Polygon. So I think that's something that we've been talking a lot behind the scenes with Near about, which is where is Near's play in gaming? Because gaming is massive, right? But how can we win with Near in gaming? And how do we do that? So obviously the infrastructure is very, very important, but that activation piece is really important as well from like being gamers, right? So I'm not saying that Near are now going to build a publishing business, but there's going to be some things coming up that a result of these conversations that will make it, even easier. Like there are these amazing educational programs. There was one announced the other day on JavaScript, but also courses around Unity, which is pretty cool. But I think there's going to be more of these initiatives that just remove any sort of non-technical barrier that exists.
I think the one thing I like to add on to there is that there's unique aspects to Near that make it ripe for mass adoption that you don't really see in any other layer ones. And so specifically, the interaction between custodial and private wallets, right? The thing is, we all know blockchain and decentralized ledger technology drives utility, but unless you engage with the Web3 learning curve, you're left out. But utility shouldn't be subject to what you know or what you don't know. I don't need to understand how Google works to search something. I don't need to understand the infrastructure behind internet to go online. So for an end user, you shouldn't have to deal with a MetaMask. You shouldn't have to, you want to have a seamless, Web 2 experience. And with Near, there's very much possible. So you can design, a system where somebody creates an account, a wallet, via just their Discord account or their email address, and that has the creator of that entity is under like a custodial relationship. But as I learn more about Web3 and I get into it, I can then claim my private key access to that and kick off the custodial account. So I can sit there and learn and engage with Web3 without knowing it. And when I am confident and I don't want to, I just want my private keys, I don't know one else to access it, I can do that. And that's the really cool thing about Near. You can build these applications that drive people from what they know into this new reality in kind of very hand-holding way. And then, there's like all this secondary infrastructure that's built on Near that makes it easier for devs to do stuff. So you want fiat on-ramp and off-ramp. You've got Kikamura Labs that's building incredible things. My Near wallet, Rocketo with payment streaming, and then the what's the third one? But what they're doing is they're providing this second level of infrastructure that if you're a dev, you don't have to figure out how to build that. It's there, out of the box, very cost-effective solution to do stuff on. And I mean, there's not that many layer ones that have taken that much initiative to make it possible for anyone to engage with the technology.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I think my foray and getting involved in the Near NFT communities is, if I'd enter the Solana community at that point and, with the hype that was there around money, people were very money motivated around that to flip them, to get on the whitelist, and there were rugs weekly. And not just on Solana, I think it's unfair just to call them out. But at that point, there was a lot going on. And I think when I stepped into Near, it felt like a very happy place. But what really impressed me was just the ability of the teams that were minting PFPs, but actually creating apps underneath. And the PFPs were part of the mechanism. But we've seen failures, we've seen successes in that. And I think it's important to start to think, we've obviously mentioned gaming as a big vertical. We've obviously mentioned Sweatcoin, which is massive. I was blown away when I found out that news. What do you think the next killer dApp will be? Where do you think the verticals are that can really push Near forward and really, as we say, segue those Web2 users into the ecosystem without knowing they've got there?
PlayEmber, obviously, right?
Of course.
No, I think gaming is an obvious one, right? Gaming is bigger than Hollywood. So if we can give digital ownership to gamers around the world and convince them, and this is the biggest battle, that NFTs aren't boiling the ocean and that everything is going to be okay if you build on Near, TM, then that is one of the biggest verticals. But I think one of the most exciting projects coming up is actually Niche. If you're familiar with Niche. Niche is like a decentralized social media. It's founded by a Tinder co-founder who chose to build on Near. So definitely keep your eyes out for that, because how many Facebook users are there around the world? How many Instagram users? How many TikTok? Billions. And it's time that we give people their data back.
Yeah, look, gaming is the obvious one. I think the key thing about us is our audience aren't really gamers, right? We're talking about AAA gamers. They're mass market consumers, right? 50-50 male, female, age sort of 18 to 40 worldwide. So even though we are labeled gaming, I think the way that we're going very quickly and Near are really helping us with is really it's about taking that locked ad value you get in Web 2, where you've got billion-dollar companies that monetize the shit out of you and make loads of money. It almost just see us as not quite a payment rail, but it's just like giving that ad revenue to the player, and then it's like, well, what do you want to spend it on, right? Uber credits, Deliveroo, like literally you name it, whatever. So actually, the marketing plan that we're working with Caps over there, or the Zebu one, is for us, where we get our consumers from, it's about their passion points. So you're going to see some really cool stuff coming up from us around the World Cup, because there's football fans that play ours. There's people that love fashion that play games. But I think I don't know what it's going to look like, but I definitely think I'm really interested in this, a bit like, Steppen being the obvious example. There's definitely some, like Dance and Earn. I think there's a lot of voyeurism and willingness to mix pop culture with just this concept of earning from Web3. I've seen like Cycle and Earn. That I definitely think in the next 12 months we're going to see some really fun iterations of consumer behavior and earn. So I think those are really interesting ones to watch out for.
I think there's two that have really impressed me. So there's Seat Labs and what they're doing with like NFT ticketing technology and physical events, and then there's B Experience and the work they're doing around engaging. It's the new Web3. LinkedIn, for lack of better words. But with so much more functionality and potential. I think it's these like mass consumer applications that benefit people irrespective of them being active participants in the chain or out of the chain. So I'd say those are the two that really struck out for me.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned B Experience. That was something that really, I saw first of all as a PFP collection, and actually very nice artwork with a very well-known, community leader in Near, right? But actually, when you dive deeper, you start to understand what they're doing. It becomes very, very interesting. So I'm conscious of time, and I don't want to be told off by Corby because I'm scared of her, but she told me not to go over. So a question that we decided all to us together as a panel, and I think it's quite broad, and I think that can be quite interesting, is how can we win? What are the wins for building on Near? We've mentioned development, we've mentioned kind of bits and pieces around that, we've mentioned ease of use, the ability to onboard Web2 users more easily. What do you see as some of the key wins for projects coming over into the ecosystem?
The way we can win by building on Near, and this is a secret that was given away if you went to NearCon last week. As soon as you walked in to this 70,000 square foot warehouse in Lisbon, there was a huge neon sign, and it said, "Build shit users want." Full stop. That's it. If you can build a product that people want to use, then you will win. You will win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, anyone who knows me personally will know my distaste for blockchains creating games that they name after themselves. Having Mon after the blockchain name is just no way that you're going to win consumers. So it is about, it's not going to go beyond that niche of 15 wallets that are actually playing the DApp. Someone was telling me about a certain metaverse that they went in, there were only 10 people in there the other day, despite the valuation. So it is about, people don't care what it's built on, right? It is about creating that killer app. I know a lot of non-Web3 users that ended up using Steppen just because of the benefits from doing it. And it's the same as Sweatcoin, which has almost done a reverse version of that, right? People have been mining this and using it for vouchers for God knows how long. And now they have a real tradable crypto thanks to the Near ecosystem. And a lot of the peak wallet use we saw around that announcement was insane. That's one thing that I spend a lot of time looking at is Near wallets. It's become a hobby. It's a bit like plane spotting for me now. But it is insane how many new wallets are being created. And so we sort of driving towards that. Any other thoughts on winning on Near?
Yeah, I just think building on that is what I love about Near. It's, if you look at like Cell GP, it's just this mindset of, it's just about building companies. I know there's like a lot of NFT maxis and, I finally got my ASAP back, thanks Paras. But don't get me wrong, I love NFTs. But for me, it's about, the mindset on Near is about, right, we're trying to build that next generation of like, blue chip companies, and when the more I get into Near and talk to the other projects, like Armored Kingdom, right? What is Armored Kingdom doing building on the blockchain, right? But their vision is it's just the future of entertainment, right? With, comics, like multimedia content. And for me, that's the mindset of what I'm feeling on Near versus, some other chains. There are some amazing projects on other chains, but it feels a lot more NFT narrative driven.
What I will say about the NFT ecosystem on Near is it's actually emerging brands in disguise. They look like profile pictures, but behind it are builders and people creating mini ecosystems and trying to make something new. And so I think that's the thing, is that like the people who are actively building on it are some of the most friendliest, most engaging, and most like easy to approach people you'll ever meet. That's why I think, how do you win on here? Talk to the people building. Everyone wants to work together. We're all in a bear market. So why not build together?
And that's a key point for me. I'm not as deep in the Near ecosystem as anyone else on this panel, but it's something that I play around in. And I think of all the communities that I want to feel a hug from, it's the Near community. You would not know there's a bear market going on in your average Discord. You would not know the prices where it is of any cryptocurrencies or the amount of money that people have lost or made. It's just a place where people are still continuing to build, continuing to strive. And I think, there is a near future NFT collection, for example, with Cap sitting over there. It's the most insane community. If anyone just wants to come in and vibe in there and just see what they're up to and the level that they go to create that community and keep a motivated community, the price of it doesn't matter. And that's the fun for me. I got very sick of communities that were just looking at making money. Why are we here? We're here because we believe in a vision. We're not here just to get rich quick. The whole point is to build, and Near ecosystem is 100% that. And to the point where, it's not even worth rugging on Near at the moment. It's not worth creating a rug. So you've got sensible, with a close community, albeit smaller, but growing. That people look out for one another, and I think there's a safety. And I think, when my wallet was drained and we met, and we go back to the profile picture again, it's how I met one of my biggest clients. It's how I met Sheran and all the times that we've spent together and the connections that we've made. And so that's not unusual. That's happening every day. And I do believe that there's a lot of injured souls that have had bad experiences in other places that come into that warmth, come into that family sense of things. And like I said, I'm probably least committed to Near out of anyone here, but that's always my impression of the Near ecosystem. So closing question, and we will pass to the audience if we do have time for any questions, but where do you see Near in 5 years? What's the fight? Where are we, all going well, wind behind us in the Near ecosystem?
I can speak to where I think the foundation will be in 5 years. So the foundation's longer term vision is to pass off much of what it does to the incredible people on this panel and the incredible people who make up the community. So that includes anything from funding to marketing to education to building developer workshops, whatever it might be, will be slowly passed on to the community, and that will further the decentralization ethos that we want to achieve. In 5 years, we will have complete dynamic resharding. In fact, we will have that next year, if all goes well. And we will have infinitely more validators, which will be incredible when it comes to decentralization.
Yeah, I can't emphasize how easy it is to become a validator and get involved in validation. It's absolutely a breeze.
I think you'll see just what my last comment. I think you'll see the next wave of leading companies, right? The next Netflix, the next Supercell. I genuinely believe that from some of the companies that met one last week at NearCon, just amazing. Be the next Go Compare, right? I think that's the caliber of companies that are building now on Near. That in 5 years' time, I honestly believe there'll be household names.
In 5 years' time, everyone will be using it, and you won't even know it.
Okay, so I'm going to get told off. Have we got time for any questions? So any questions from anything we've discussed here, or have we covered everything that everyone needs to know about the Near ecosystem? Oh, brilliant.
When can I join them? I mean, what enthusiasm from a bunch of people on the panel. It's really good to hear what you're doing.
Stop it, you're a charmer. You're a charmer.
So, just see the enthusiasm.
You're going to make me blush. You are.
I mean, I can step away and be almost agnostic in this conversation, but I would say this is fairly typical of any Near community you meet. It's insane. Don't come there to get rich, come there to build, come there to engage, meet like-minded people. And if you spent 10 minutes in the ASAC Discord, it's a vibe. Okay. We've covered it all. Everyone's now fully educated.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.